we've had some IT issues with members who are joining online. We've got apologies from Councillor Martin and Councillors McClucky, Keogh and May joining us online. Councillor Lee has accepted me. I think he's joined us online. I'm not sure whether he's coming in person or online. And on that note, can I just remind elected members who respond to member services for the meeting invites when you come out, could you indicate whether you're attending online or whether you're coming into the chamber, so that we know in terms of minutes set up properly for the chamber. Because what we're getting is people saying they're attending, we're not quite sure whether it's online or whether it's in the chamber itself. So it'd be useful to add that into the class for us.
It also looks like Councillor Bolton's online as well.
Yeah, before we move on to the agenda, I noticed we've got Emma Flying with us, who was also online, and it's Emma's last day with us here at Clackmannanshire Council. So moving on to Pastors News, just want to wish Emma all the very best, and happy to be here in the chamber, and thank her for her contribution and efforts in time with us. Apologies if was forgotten from Councillor Martin this morning. Do we have any declarations of interest? Okay, thank you. We'll run through the protocol. All visitors must sign into the visitor book at the entrance to Kiln Craigs. This includes council staff from other buildings. There is no planned fire evacuation drill or alarm test today. If the fire alarm is activated during your visit, you must exit the building immediately. Council officers will direct you to the nearest fire exit and will escort visitors to the building fire assembly point beside the silver man at the top of Parliament Walk. Kiln Craigs staff should report to the floor's assembly point. You should remain at the assembly point until directed to reoccupy the building and only re-enter once the fire marshal is advised that it's safe to do so. Please do not attempt to leave the site by vehicle until cleared to do so by the fire marshal to ensure access routes are kept clear for any emergency vehicles. Please note that this is a public meeting and members of the public may be in attendance. The meeting will be recorded by the clerk and published online for public viewing. The taking of photographs, including screenshots, audio or video recordings, are not permitted during the meeting unless with express permission of the convener. Can members who are attending virtually activate their cameras where possible to enable you to join by video? You can all attendees mute microphones when not speaking. Please do not come in during items unless I invite you to do so. Members attending virtually wish to speak at any point, please indicate by clicking on the raise your hand button. Members of the chamber should also raise their hand. I will bring you in at the appropriate time. If members are not able to access all videos of the meeting, could you please indicate now? Okay, since to have the papers, we will hear each item set out in the agenda. I will invite the officers to present the paper and members will then have the opportunity to ask questions before we proceed to debate and decision. First item on the agenda is the minutes of Clackmannanshire Council. As usual, we'll go through the page by page. I'll read the page number. There was an issue in any of these pages indicated to me. So page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13. Happy to approve those minutes? Okay. Item 5 is committee recommendations referred to council.
Thanks very much, Convener. Good morning, councillors. So the purpose of this report is to seek council approval of recommendations which have been made by the Regulatory Committee on the 13th of August and the Audit and Scrutiny Committee on the 22nd of August. There is one recommendation to approve from the Regulatory Committee and one recommendation to note in respect of the report entitled Review of Taxi Operators Licence Duration. From the Audit and Scrutiny Committee of the 22nd of August, there is one recommendation to approve in relation to the Community Wellbeing Report 23-24. In both cases, as usual, the reports are available on the Council's website. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks. Do you have any questions? Councillor Klein?
Thank you, Convener. Page 66 of our papers, 24 of the report, that is, and its measures to reduce antisocial behaviour, easier reporting of antisocial behaviour complaints to the council/police.
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Klein. Item 4.
Oops.
Any other questions?
Most of the ones based on 2-2.
Sorry,
Most of the recommendation 2-2.
yeah, so this is about questions to paper 4 at this stage.
Yes.
Okay, do we have any?
No questions. All I'm saying is that from the recommendations that you're discussing,
Mike, Kenny, Mike.
also saying in the recommendation you're discussing 2.1 or 2.2 is a different issue.
So, yeah, I'm aware as a councillor, when I introduced the paper, I referred to the two separate committees, one recommendation to approve the bill from regulatory and one to approve from audit and scrutiny, which is the 2-2.
Thank you.
Okay, no questions on that paper. Ask Councillor Poston to move.
Yeah, just formally move.
Thank you, Councillor Lindsay. Motion to debate. Okay, happy to agree. Thank you. So item 5 on the agenda is the antisocial behaviour strategy for 24-27. Investment, give some important.
I'm pleased to present the Clackmannanshire Anti-Social Behaviour Strategy for 24-27. The Anti-Social Behaviour Act 2004 defines anti-social behaviour as acting in a manner of pursuing a course of conduct that causes or is likely to cause alarm or distress to at least one person not of the same household as the perpetrator. The revised Anti-Social Behaviour Strategy 24-27 for Clackmannanshire is underpinned by the principles of family wellbeing partnership and the Scottish approach to service design, and was developed jointly between Clackmannanshire Council and Police Scotland over the course of the last year. Integral to this process has been the voice of our residents, so that we capture what communities regard as important to them, and it's tailored to the needs and aspirations of local people. Subject to approval at Council today, the strategy will be taken to Clackmannanshire Alliance on the 18th of October to agree an action plan and address issues that have arisen. Commencing in October 2023, the following measures were undertaken to inform the development of the strategy. The establishment of a short-life working group of stakeholders to take forward this work, including background reading of Scottish Government legislation and familiarisation with data related to antisocial behaviour incidents. This involved representatives from Clackmannanshire Council, from Education, Justice Services, Housing, Children and Families, Police Scotland, Community Learning and Development, Clackmannanshire Tenants and Residents Federation, Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, NHS Forth Valley, Health and Social Care Partnership, Clackmannanshire Third Sector Interface, Clackmannanshire Alliance, Forth Valley Alcohol and Drug Partnership, Family Wellbeing Partnership, Planet Youth, and the Resilience Learning Partnership. A comprehensive audit of antisocial behaviour in Clackmannanshire was carried out between October 2023 and March 24 to inform the development of the strategy. This helped the understanding of antisocial behaviour issues in Clackmannanshire as experienced by our communities and local service providers. A background paper was taken to the Clackmannanshire Alliance meeting on the 1st of December 2023, explaining the rationale for this piece of work and outlining the timeline. The audit analysis was based on statistics from the Police and Clackmannanshire Council Place Directorate, a citizens-based community consultation, engagement with all 8 community councils in Clackmannanshire, and focus groups of young people using the Education Scotland Youth Empowerment Toolkit. We attended the Scottish Community Safety Network seminar on antisocial behaviour and presented to the Clackmannanshire Council Parent Chairs Book. Meetings took place with COSLA, Youth Council, Scottish Violence Reduction Unit and all 8 community councils. A citizen-based survey was distributed to community members, families, groups and staff. The link was added to the council website, shared on social media channels, and paper copies were made available in each locality. The findings of this can be found at Appendix 2. Further consultation took place with colleagues in neighbouring local authorities to glean ideas for what has made a difference in their communities to tackle antisocial behaviour, namely the City of Edinburgh Council and South Lanarkshire Council. The stakeholder group met regularly to discuss all collated feedback and to determine what each partner could contribute to the strategy, using existing resource and what the strategic priorities and outcomes should be. A draft action plan was subsequently developed, which you'll see at Appendix 3. Draft versions of the strategy were discussed for review and feedback purposes from all stakeholders, with a further policy development session taking place with the administration group on the 2nd of September 2024. This is the fourth iteration of the strategy, as we were keen to ensure it meets the needs of our communities and reflects what they told us. There was strong support from the community and from the working group to call the strategy an antisocial behaviour strategy, although there were several different names that we considered. The feeling was that this adhered to the term used by Scottish Government, highlighting that this title aligns with our objectives, that the strategy should reflect what our residents tell us, and they knew and understood the term antisocial behaviour. It was also felt that this aligned with the principles of the Plain English campaign, that is, that when important information is being shared by a public body, it should be immediately clear what it means and should be devoid of jargon. Whilst the development of the strategy is only a starting point to addressing the issues raised, there is recognition that the next step in addressing them is partners working together to agree on an action plan, which will be the focus of the Alliance meeting on 18th of October 24, subject to Council approval today. I'm joined by my colleagues from the police and other directorates, and we're happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Katrina. So, do you have any questions? Councillor Bennett, or Councillor Coyne?
Thanks, Chair. Just one thing, Katrina, it was a fantastic report. I went through it and it was great. The one thing it didn't really say is how much of the whole of Clackmannanshire was supported in that, because it's not given the areas. So it was just really, I was thinking, you know, where was the worst place, where was the best place for these?
There was no worst and best as such. There were pockets that were familiar to certain areas, but there were some that were specific to the locale as well. We thought it wouldn't be useful to have a complete breakdown of every single one and kind of singling different areas out, but we have that information, so we know where we could put in appropriate measures to mitigate what was happening. What was consistent, and I think this is recorded, is that there were concerns about things that are not always easy to address. For example, litter, dog fouling. That was a consistent message in every area that was particular to everyone. But as I say, there were specific incidents in certain areas that were more of a concern than others. But we do have all that data.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coyne. Followed by Councillor Allen.
Thanks, Mayor. As it was said earlier, page 66, 24 of the report, and 69, two of the items that were very strongly agreed with by the public were, in the first instance, the reporting of incidents, and in the second case, CCTV. Deal with reporting, first of all, it seems that the current method has failed. What is the current method of reporting, and why does it fail? Why does it need to be improved?
I'm going to hand over to my colleagues at this point to see what the issue is with reporting from the police matters. I think that would be best in the first instance. Yeah.
Thanks, councillors. Obviously, locally recommend our Chief Inspector Cat Johnson. So, currently at the moment, to report to Police Scotland in an emergency, it's obviously 999. But if it's not an emergency, it's 111. And also, we've got contact us. I think at the moment, what we need to do is promote elements of antisocial behaviour, and that's part of the action plan, part of the strategy to actually promote what is antisocial behaviour and what each of the agencies can do. Because I think there's an assumption that it's Police Scotland or it's perhaps local authority, but sometimes it's not. So I think the first thing we need to do is actually promote the antisocial behaviour strategy and all the different contact mechanisms. But currently it's 101. The contact us page, or actually our community team. So we get lots of referrals via our community team mailbox, and reports from yourselves, and also from MSPs, MPs as well. But I don't think sometimes our members of the public no. So I think that's where we need to do a lot more work.
I believe Murray Sharp's also online, who we can bring in at this point as well.
I am here, but apologies, I never heard the question in full, so.
You need to stand. The question was about the efficacy of the current method of reporting, and it's been detailed to us. It's a combination of 999, 101, and I think an email system, an email service that's coming in. And my question was, why is it failing?
And why is the reporting methods failing? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going by the members of the public who responded to this and said that is a weakness, something that needs to be improved. So I just wondered what was wrong with the present system. I think the Chief Inspector has outlined that possibly it's not been properly advertised and messaged out to the public. Is that the only reason, or is there something fundamentally wrong with it? Like, for example, the one-on-one takes a long time to get answered or whatever, people give up. I don't know why. That's why people think there's a problem.
Yeah,
I think it's Murray, sorry to interrupt, I think, Murray, it's in relation to if there's an issue in, for example, tenants, what's the first port of call that people would have to be able to show their concerns?
well, in terms of tenants, clearly, if it's action that's ongoing or criminal behaviour, the first port of call is always recourse to the police, who have the duties and the manpower to deal with something that's ongoing. Certainly, if people have noticed something or they want to report an incident which has occurred, clearly the protocol then is to contact the housing service. We would carry out investigations. We've never had an issue, and clearly it's maybe something, Councillor Coyne, that we can speak about in part of our performance meetings in relation to whether tenants feel that they're struggling to report incidents to us for them to take forward, but it's never something that's necessarily come through any of our reporting channels as such just now.
Okay, I think we've dealt with that reasonably successfully. And the second part was on the CCTV. Now, I know that people say it's very expensive and maintenance is a problem, but it's obviously something which is a very powerful weapon. So, I'm wondering, can the councils, plural, not get together and into some sort of buying group and reduce the cost of facilitating CCTV coverage? And has that been thought about? Is there a cheaper way to do it than using existing equipment? I don't know.
As far as CCTV is concerned, I'm just going to pass over my colleague in place to talk about that one.
So in terms of CCTV within the authority, we currently have 340 cameras with a particular focus on our public spaces and our public buildings. In that sense, it is a deterrent and it is helpful. However, there is an ongoing operational cost in terms of the delivery of that. To increase that more would require more resource and to support that agenda. I think we utilise our CCTV network as such well, in particular around about focus and key assets that we hold within the council. As I said, to expand that, we require further investment in terms of maintenance, that monitoring of that feed, etc. In that sense, we would also encourage local residents in terms of the actions that they can do to protect the spaces as well. Obviously, this is a piece of work that we work closely with Police Scotland on in terms of that area of work. But at present, we do have 340 cameras throughout the authority, and that's been fairly static for the last couple of years. So it has, in that sense, to increase it, and we would need to further investment in. That's it.
Yeah, it is, but I don't know. 343 is a big number in some contexts, it's a small number in others. Is it a big number in the context of coverage that you would like to have in Clackmannanshire? If it's not, then should we be looking at some method to obtain more coverage, more units at a better price? And that's why I mentioned the idea of working as a buying group with other authorities. Has that got any traction?
It could absolutely be a possibility, and I know that we are engaging with our local neighbours in Falkirk and Stirling around a whole range of different topics. In that sense, I'm happy to explore that as an option with them to see if that's something that is feasible for us to look at. In terms of the CCTV itself, I think it is a deterrent that is helpful. However, there's other avenues that we could also look in connection with our CCTV network, whether that be working alongside some of our communities in terms of that engagement with residents and our young people, etc. And I think we do have a really good, strong network of partners, and the strategy document itself outlines some of that work as well.
That's fine, thanks. I'll go back to Katrina, if that's all right. From pages 77 to 84 list 37 actions which you've got. These, I don't think, are prioritised in any particular way. Are they going to be prioritised? And will they be budgeted? Because it's difficult to approve a strategy if you don't actually know what the impacts are. And if we sign on to this paper but have no control over what is actually agreed in terms of spending, because ultimately we're responsible to the public for that. So, while I might be happy to sign on to strategy, I'd like to know that the impact assessment would be coming for approval. Something to do.
That was a question.
Yeah, thank you for your question. So absolutely, I think it's really imperative to discuss the fact that when we first worked on this as a working group, there were numerous numbers of actions that we could have taken forward, and so it almost became like a brain dump of everything that we thought could be feasible if it were blue sky thinking and money were the object. But we're realistic enough to know that that wouldn't be the case. But what I said initially in my presentation this morning was exactly the fact that this is only the start of this. We absolutely have to fine-tune what's realistic, what we can actually address within the resources that we have, and also in the timescales that we're wanting to address them to be able to report back to the public. So the next step really is to get everybody around the table at the Alliance and talk about actually what is the priority, what could we take forward, and make sure that every partner knows what part will play in that, because it has to be a multi-agency partnership for this to actually have the impact. As far as the governance and reporting is concerned, that's again something that we would want to raise at the Alliance, so that we can make sure that we do have a standing bit of scrutiny on this, and that every year that we do have an annual report to committee on exact sort of scrutiny committee to explain what we've taken forward and why we decided on this. That will also obviously take into account if there's any specific budget that's needed, but we were very keen to work with our partners to ensure that we use existing resources where possible.
Excellent, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hill, to be followed by Councillor Paulson.
Yeah, thanks. I have a couple of questions. I think one is already been partly answered. On the discussion, so on the issue of the CCTV cameras, I know that bids it's our first have the camera where the town centre and all of them. And the picture that we get from the images are absolutely fantastic. It's like watching telly. But somebody's actually watching a bit of comedy, but that's another story. We mentioned a moment ago that there are 340 cameras. How many of the 340 cameras are the old ones that were put in 20 years ago, when the initiative first came on? And how are they maintained and monitored?
Thank you, Councillor. In terms of the exact number, I don't have that. I can revert back to you in terms of writing and following the council on that exact number. A number of these cameras are recording cameras, so there's not necessarily somebody
they are watching the feed, so they will feed into janitorial offices, etc. So there's networks like that, so a whole mixture of that. I can get an absolute breakdown for that to you.
So these would be the cameras within buildings?
There's a mixture.
It's interesting to get these figures because the message.
Not mine, yeah.
The message out there is the cameras are there, we would never ever see them moving in any direction, not at any time you actually see them, so they're feeling that they're not working.
Some questions, Councillor?
Yeah. Thank you, I'll come back to that one. 1 second, yeah. A number of years ago, we had officers in place to look at antisocial behaviour, both for the public sector and the private sector. We no longer have that officer who deals with the private sector. Is there any thought of replacing that officer to help with that antisocial behaviour problem that goes on in private rented accommodation?
Understanding is that there were indeed there were community wardens, etc., that had part to play in that and they're no longer in place. As to whether that's something that's planned for the future or not, I'm going to pass on to my police colleagues to see if that's something that's on the horizon.
Councillor, in terms of the reform of wardens service, obviously that is funding was released in terms of those posts. There's no plan at this stage in terms of reintroducing them back into the service.
Don't you think that with the reporting of the antisocial behaviour from the houses, the private genesis, and don't come under the housing department to deal with antisocial behaviour? We need somewhere, we need some method of dealing with antisocial behaviour there. Because if we don't, it means that a lot of the tenants living in their accommodation are sitting there and they'll pay the just like it.
Certainly happy to look into that fits in terms of the action plans that we have, but in terms of the decisions we're having to make it in terms of fiscal positioning, I don't see at this stage as being able to bring those posts back in to operations.
Perhaps we can discuss that after the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. I wanted to ask a question around the consultation. There were 166 responses, which is an absolute tiny fraction of the population of Clackmannanshire. And I just wondered what steps you took to maximise the responses to the consultation. Because I could stand in Shillinhill on a lunchtime and probably speak to more than 166 people. Probably also witnessed some antisocial behaviour whilst I was there as well. So I'm just kind of wondering, what we did to make sure that we're getting the widest group of people responding as possible.
Yeah, thanks for the question. It was something that we were really keen on, making sure that we were able to have as many responses as possible. There was an element of consultation fatigue that very clearly came through in what was said at community council meetings. I attended all 8 community council meetings in the localities to try and get to drum up more interest in making sure that people were prepared to respond to the consultation. There was a lot of publicly approaching council buildings to be able to leave paper copies as well. So we definitely felt that we couldn't really do any more to promote it or advertise it. We were disappointed it was 166, I'm not going to lie, but it would have been, I don't think there really was very much else that we could do at that particular stage. We had to promote it on all our social media channels. We spoke to relevant people and asked them to kind of share it amongst their networks as well. And we were very mindful about the fact that some people are not perhaps able to have access to digital technology and therefore we needed to have paper copies. So we worked with our colleagues in place to go around establishments to make sure these copies were there as well. This was only part of the process. Obviously, we got information from young people as well, and different young people, not just from schools. We used community-led development as well to make sure we were able to speak to some young people who might not otherwise have been chosen in school to perhaps have their opinion. So we did speak to people in an opportunistic way as well when we were able to get hold of people at various meetings when CLG were perhaps having a family group. We would kind of almost survey people who were there as well. So we did try to capture as much as we could, and we were a bit disappointed that we didn't any further than 166, but it wasn't for the want of trying, I'm afraid.
Just coming back in on that, obviously 166 is a really small sample, and it wasn't representative of every community, because when we looked at the results, there was, some villages or towns hadn't responded at all. Is there a danger that those who have responded are probably much more likely to have experienced antisocial behaviour, and that's what's prompted them to respond? Does that mean that it's likely that the results could be kind of skewed?
I don't think so, because the consultation resistance piece is only part of the process. As I say, we did get verbal feedback from various locales as well. For example, in Muckert, when I was there, they specified that they had a huge lot of antisocial behaviour, but there were important issues for them, where there was examples of that. And so we did see different places that did come back and give us the feedback that was there as well. I think it stands to reason that anybody writing a consultation, if they're prepared to write a comment, it's usually because they have experienced something that's really familiar to them. But I think maybe we got the balance right with listening to what people were telling us as well, and not just relying on the results of the consultation.
Thank you, Councillor Person. Councillor Quinn, before the Councillor Lee.
Thank you. I'm not sure if some of the questions here relate to some of the actions. So can I ask specific? So for example, so like people want to increase police presence, of course they do, everyone does, but they're not going to get it, so they're not going to hire more police. They're saying do you agree with, supporting people when they come out of prison? It's like, well, they said no, we're going to withdraw our support. It's like, no, we're not. And the question, page 73, one of the questions is increased council enforcement officers. We've already heard from Councillor Earl's question that we're not going to hire people, we're not going to hire any more people. So what actions are we going to do to increase the presence of enforcement officers without hiring any more and without taking away from all other work that they're already doing?
I think the key to this whole thing is that this is a strategy at the moment, this is not the action plan. So what we're looking for approval today is actually the kind of permission to take this forward, to make sure we can then have those discussions with Alliance members, to make sure that we use the existing resources that we've got. And actually we thought it was very important, because what did come through in every council meeting, community council meeting, was that people felt that they weren't necessarily always listened to. So I mentioned consultation fatigue. I was at great pains to point out to people that were listening, and we will take on board what you say. There was a sense that perhaps they wouldn't be listened to, and it would be something that we would just decide what was best for the local community. So we wanted to be really clear that we were taking on board what they said, and that was verbatim. They did tell us that they felt that there wasn't a presence, so it would have been remiss of us not to have recognised that. That doesn't mean there's a bottomless pit of funding to be able to address it, and I think that's the next stage of what we have to look at around the table at Alliance about exactly which partners will take on which role.
Councillor Lee, can I just ask members when we're talking into the mics, I don't know if we'll switch to one, but could we bring them in close enough? I know we might be picking it up here in the chamber, but I think we're online, it's difficult for them to hear what we're saying. So when we switch them on, bring them in close enough that we're speaking into them. Thanks.
Thanks, Chair. My question was around, further on from Councillor Quinn's questioning, is community officers. We're really looking to see what the application will be and how that will fit in with this plan. I'm looking for key points, because in recent years, speaking from my own experience, there's been a decline in on-beat community officers, which has prevented us, myself, the community and the officers, from being, I think, proactive to get ahead of antisocial behaviour. So just really looking to see a strong community policing and integral to this plan.
Thanks, Councillor. So, a couple of points. First of all, I just want to reiterate what Katrina said. This is a strategy, so we haven't finalised all the different actions that each of the members of the Alliance and all of the partners are going to be able to confirm today what we're going to be able to achieve. But I'll just raise about Operation Evolve. I don't know if you've seen it being advertised at the moment. Our Chief Constable presented at the Scottish Police Authority. It's been publicised in local media and also STV, BBC News about community policing and almost getting that, Bobby back on the beat. So absolutely, from my point of view, I am, for reassurance purposes, dedicated to ensuring that we have community officers in all wards across Clackmannanshire. I've obviously explained that audit and scrutiny and other boards, we have to go where the demand is, and clearly things get what we call thrived. So the risk assessed in relation to threat, harm, risk, information, vulnerability, and obviously engagement as well. So every single incident gets what we call thrived. So it's that risk assessment. So to answer your question in relation to community policing, we are absolutely committed to community policing within Police Scotland, but very much within Clackmannanshire. Is that perfect? Thanks.
Thank you.
Councillor Lee?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Gonzaga?
Thanks, Convener. My question is also for Police Scotland, directed to Kat. Thanks, Kat. You mentioned, well, you and Katrina mentioned that the partners need to buy into this whole strategy and produce an action plan. So to inform the action plan, can you talk me through the processes? For example, we get a lot of antisocial behaviour reports, and a lot of the time it's hard to respond to them. Can you tell me how the police responds to them, how they engage with the complainant? Do they refer or liaise with the council following that if they feel that it's a council decision? And what is the process for follow-up with that? Because a lot of the time you're told that nothing happens. Thanks.
No, thanks, Councillor. So just to explain the process, there's lots of different processes, as I explained. If somebody decides to make a phone call and it's classed as an emergency or on 999 or 101, that's recorded on what we call a storm system. So everything's recorded. It's the same with Contact Us. What I suppose you've got to appreciate is that not everything is the police's remit. So if we get something that is for information and we just, it's determined that it's not criminality and we are not the main partner that can take the lead, then we will liaise with colleagues within local authority, with our fire colleagues, third sector, housing, etc. The list of partners are contained within the strategy. But that's the key part here, and I think I really want to emphasise this, is Police Scotland don't have all the answers, Clackmannanshire Council don't have all the answers, Fire don't. We've got to work collaboratively to actually resolve the antisocial behaviour that's within Clackmannanshire, and that's not just Clackmannanshire, that's across Police Scotland. That is our ethos about working with each other to resolve the problems and the challenges that we've got. In relation to actually how that works, so it doesn't apply to Police Scotland, and we will then speak to housing colleagues or Health and Social Care Partnership. We've got Strive, which I think is brilliant. Obviously we don't have that in other areas across Police Scotland, and that's one mechanism that we can discuss key and individual cases to ensure that that support's in place. And obviously it goes full circle, so every day there's a meeting and it's discussed about what steps have been taken and what measures have been taken to support the individual, whether that's the perpetrator or actually the victim. And that ethos is in the same process in respect of just community policing as well. I appreciate that sometimes people might not feel like they always get the answers that they want, and I know we've had numerous discussions and complaints from yourselves, but when we actually provide the information, we have given updates. But I appreciate it's not always the answer that our members of the public want.
Thank you. Thanks, Kat. talking about the complexities of antisocial behaviour. When you come across things like complaints to RSLs about that's maybe in connection with a council tenant or vice versa, or private landlords or individual residents, how do you deal with them if there isn't a council to go to? So are they dealt with individually? Do you repair this back to the RSL? Are they able to talk to private landlords, etc., to resolve this? Because we get this conflict quite a lot. Thanks.
No, thank you, Councillor. And I just want to reiterate, it is complex. So yeah, there's not always somewhere a key individual that we can go and speak to, but it's about going and speaking to the actual person that's made the complaint, and speaking to the person that they're perhaps complaining about to try and resolve those issues. My community officers also try and mediate as well between individuals to try and understand the individual needs. It's really difficult to a specific case, so I can't really give you an answer in respect of exactly what we would do without a specific case, and we can maybe talk off table if that would be of benefit. But yeah, every case is different, but we try every avenue that we possibly can to try and resolve the issue, and that also includes my community officers trying to mediate between the two parties.
Thanks. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Benny, do you want to come back in?
Just very quickly, thank you. Because of there are so many issues, but the one issue I have is not long ago we had prisoners coming out of their local prison because of overcrowding. Was there any impact on that? Because with the antisocial behaviour, was there any impact from these people coming out of prison?
No, thank you, Councillor. As part of the Police Scotland process, we reviewed and personally kept a close eye on those individuals that were released early. One, so that we could give feedback to the governors and the whole process, because obviously it's been Scottish Government linked. So we obviously had debriefs to be able to give that information back. So to answer your question specifically, the answer would be no for Clackmannanshire. So as simple as no.
Pleased with that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Scott McDonald, I see you put your hand up. Do you want to come in?
That's great, thank you, Chair. Just on that question in terms of the impact of the early release of prisoners, those coming out weren't subject to any statutory support or requirements. We did monitor it though in terms of our justice services, and those who did require support, there was actually examples of that multidisciplinary partner working worked really well with ourselves in Police Scotland. So those who were identified, actions were put in place, and that included health services and everybody else as well. But in terms of your question with antisocial behaviour, it had no impact that we're aware of in justice services as well. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Councillor Law? Is there no other questions?
Excuse me,
Councillor Quinn.
Thanks. It's a follow-up to the question about landlords that Councillor McTaggart raised. We have presumably somewhere a register of landlords, council grants, licences, etc. Is it apt that the police have access to this so that in a situation requiring a rapid response, they can simply look on the register and phone the landlord?
To answer Councillor Coyne's question, yes, the council does, along with all other Scottish local authorities, require landlords to register their properties, which they do so on the Scottish Government website. So it's publicly available information.
Okay, thank you. Some other questions? Thank you, Katrina. And everybody else for their contributions to question and answer session, including Alex Thompson, who's come in this morning to answer the question of the Police Scotland. So thank you for coming. Councillor Crosby to move the paper.
Thank you, convener. Everyone deserves to live in a community where they feel safe and secure, and that's why I'm pleased to propose Clackmannanshire anti-social behaviour strategy to Council for approval today. This strategy aims to put the needs of our residents, communities and businesses at the forefront of both council and partner decisions. It does have to be acknowledged that this is a high-level strategy which will have to be underpinned by an action plan delivered by partners across Clackmannanshire. In developing this strategy, we made it a priority to listen to the voices of our residents. They know their communities better than anyone, and as we heard from Katrina, their insights have been invaluable in identifying the issues that matter the most, from litter and dog fouling to more serious concerns like substance misuse. While over half of residents said that they were satisfied with life in Clackmannanshire, it's clear that more needs to be done, especially when so many have experienced antisocial behaviour and report feeling unsafe in their daily lives. It does have to be noted, though, that there were 166 respondents to the consultation, which is just a fraction of our local population, and I do have some concerns about the representativeness of this result, and we need to be mindful of this when making decisions on the actions to be taken. The Clackmannanshire Family Wellbeing Partnership principles are at the core of this strategy, which takes a collaborative approach, working together with our communities rather than imposing solutions from the top down. This ensures that we respond to the real needs and aspirations of our residents. Tackling antisocial behaviour is not the responsibility of one single agency. This strategy reflects a shared commitment from Clackmannanshire Council, Police Scotland, Scottish Fire and Rescue, community councils, schools and other partners to work together, share information effectively and to act early to prevent problems before they escalate. Once approved by Council, it's my intention to present this strategy along with the action plan detailed at Appendix 3 to our community planning partnership. I will also request the formation of a cross-partner working group to ensure that we focus on clear priorities and deliver real outcomes that make a difference in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lindsay, to second.
Thanks, Convener. Yeah, and I think it's clear to see this morning the feeling around the room and how connected I think we all are to many of the issues that have been raised, and that's the reason that we spent quite a bit of time going through some questions, put some points out. I'm sure there'll be some more points raised in debate. I think we're well aware of these issues because we're close to our communities, we attend our community councils regularly, but we're in and working and living within our communities as well. So we're very close to many of these issues that have been raised this morning. I think what I would like to draw attention to is the level of consultation. I know we've discussed perhaps sometimes the completion of forms and things like that, but I certainly would pay tribute to Katrina, who I've witnessed at community council meetings, and I know she's done the rounds not just there but in other forums as well. So I think this document has been really well consulted on. We've really worked hard to engage with communities, young people and a range of different stakeholders to ensure this is as Helen said, a collaborative document with collective responsibility, and that's absolutely critical. Without that, this strategy and any associated action plan will ultimately fail. It has to be a collective, collaborative responsibility to do that. I've worked closely in my role as education spokesperson and working with young people, particularly around the youth councils. And certainly the last youth council that I attended, there was a strong focus coming through in terms of priorities from young people on a range of issues that have been discussed this morning: litter, alcohol abuse, substance misuse, a lot of issues around the vaping as well, particularly in relation to all these things in terms of littering and the use of these things as well. So amongst other issues that young people have raised as well. So I wanted to take that opportunity to raise that this morning, that we are, and Council is engaging with all stakeholders on this critical issue. As has been noted, this is the first step in approving the strategy. There is actions laid out, but these will be taken forward, refined, to ensure that we have the right steps in place. And I think there's a recognition from partners that we need to work together to make sure that we do have an action plan that is workable and that is achievable. So really pleased to support this. It's essential that we have this in place. There's a need for it. It's been really well consulted on, and we look forward to working with council colleagues and other partners across the Clackmannanshire to make sure this works well. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Papers now open to debate. Anyone wish to debate? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I welcome the strategy. Like many elected members, we've had a briefing on this beforehand, and it's just the start. For me, at the core of any antisocial behaviour is about respect, how we respect one another, the spaces that we share, both outdoor and interior. We respect the facilities that we all use within the community. And at the core of that, there must surely be education. What I would like to say though is, which is missing from this report as we move forward, is that I'd like to see us reach out to the development trusts that have been developed within our communities, and indeed other groups such as the Glen Heritage Trust, who have taken over community assets but are still facing the scourge of antisocial behaviour in terms of vandalism, litter, etc. So I'd like to see us, as we move forward with the action plan and various these sort of groups that are mentioned within the report. I wish those involved well. A lot of it is about how we record these sort of things, how we put a value on issues in terms of antisocial behaviour. Later on, we're going to be discussing a motion about Clackmannanshire House, which ultimately we wouldn't be discussing that if there hadn't been a fire as a result of blatant vandalism. So these issues are corroding our day-to-day lives, and we need to tackle it. And as a consequence, I welcome this strategy as the first step.
Thank you, Councillor Lennon.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. The strategy that's before the city highlights not only the extent of the problem that exists, but we've talked already about the complexities of antisocial behaviour as well. It's not just a simple issue. But also, not only does it raise the issues, it also suggests possible solutions. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence in existence, and we all know the problems that exist within the rural communities. But what has been, what was missing in the past was a cohesive strategy that looked at the problems of antisocial behaviour in a more holistic manner. I would like to say that the antisocial behaviour strategy needs to be like a machine, with all the cogs and all the lever and all this work in tandem with the machine to work perfectly. Just as we have that, if we don't, we have 26 partners that signed up to this document. If each of these partners work together, it can work. If one or two of the partners are not taking part in it, as has been suggested earlier by Graham, it's not going to work. So we need everybody. That means everyone here, plus the general public, to take ownership of this as well, because it's a massive problem. However, there are lots of community groups out there that are doing some fantastic work. There are certainly one or two areas in my ward that I can allude to that have done some tremendous work. There's also work done by those people that are in restorative justice. And the work that they do is to a very high standard. So there are lots of things that can work together, and as a team, we can to tackle this. However, there's no doubt that COVID had a serious effect on the physical and mental health of the residents, both young and old. And this has also led to a consequential effect on antisocial behaviour. If there's been more people working, because there's more people working from home, that creates its own pressures. So what might start off as a simple argument, it can really blow up to some major issues. Again, the cost of living increases is another one that put tremendous pressures on vulnerable farmers and people. And this too has a knock-on effect on the reported incidents of antisocial behaviour. There are lots of, in that report, there are lots of brilliant ideas, really good ideas. And like Helen and everyone else is saying there, the small response is something that saddens me. That surprised me. When we look at other reports that have been out there, other questionnaires, and we've got a very small return. If you're not have been affected by antisocial behaviour, it's very unlikely that you're going to respond to it in the same manner as you wish you would. It's not all doom and gloom. I know that for younger members of the community, particularly in Ottawa, there's a nightclub that is now an application has been put in for a former nightclub to convert it to a youth club. I don't think it's like just get a youth club that the car member. There's certainly going to be the computers and things like that, and the youth clubs are going to get this. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I also believe that everybody is prepared to work together for the benefit of the community, that we can tackle and defeat the Scottish antisocial behaviour, and for that I support me.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson.
Thanks, I'm really happy to see this coming forward. I was at a couple of community councils where Katrina presented this, and it generated a whole heap of discussion. I think it's really easy to focus on the negatives, and unfortunately that happens a lot. But I think this will build on if you look at some of the numbers, and I know it was on a low return, but satisfied in your area, in the Clackmannanshire, 53%, satisfied in your own individual neighbourhood, 67%, you feel safe in Clackmannanshire at 52%, and safe in your own individual neighbourhood at 66%. I think, albeit on a fairly low return on responses, but adding to what Councillor Earl was saying here, people will respond when it actually impacts them personally. So I think those are quite good numbers, and I hope that this strategy, leading into an action plan, will drive those numbers in an even more positive manner. And I really welcome that strategy coming forward.
Okay, thank you. Any other contributions to the debate, Councillor Coyne?
Thanks, Commissioner. This is an excellent paper. A lot of work gone into it, a lot of good material coming out of it. Basically, I think this is what it boils down to is two strands, which is aversion and detection. And I think for detection, we've talked about CCTV, that's important, that's probably going to involve IT and equipment, things like that. We need to invest in that to help solve the problem. But the main cure is going to be aversion, and that is education. That's making parents responsible for the actions of the children, because if the children get away with it, there's no incentive for them not to misbehave again. But if parents are irritated by the fact that their children are misbehaving, then they may themselves become part of the aversion process, which is what we want to try and achieve. So I think there's two main strands to this, and I hope this is the start of a bit of rethinking, perhaps, in how we work with people and equipment. But I endorse it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Law.
Sorry, I just wanted to add in, I know that Dennis said young people and education, but in my view it's adults, so I don't think we should really be focusing on the kids. Yeah, there is issues with kids, great, but a lot of it is adults being antisocial, so I think I just wanted to highlight that it's not just young people, it's everybody, and that's of all ages, not just with 30-year-olds, it's also there's some pensioners that can cause some issues as well. So let's
Okay, thank you, Councillor Law. Any other contributions to the debate? There's a question on Councillor.
Just very briefly, I welcome the contributions by everybody around the table today, and I think it just goes to show exactly how important this issue is. for us as a council, for our partners and for our communities. Hopefully moving forward we will see some action in targeted areas that will deliver the best outcomes. But you know, as councillors, it's upon us to keep an eye on this and to make sure that we scrutinise the updates coming forward to make sure that it does meet our expectations, and if not, we revise and adapt accordingly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll be happy to approve the strategy as it's laid out. Approved. Okay, thank you very much. Item 6 is a review update and thank
Thank you, Convener. So this paper provides the latest update in respect to the Council's Be the Future target operating model and the associated transformation programme. The paper provides an update on the Council's agreed Be the Future priorities, refining the detail and timescales on the deliverables, and introduces the concept of the Be the Future plan. This refinement of our approach aims to provide greater transparency over our top 3 priorities, as well as providing a more coordinated flow of the update information through both the Be the Future board and onwards into future council meetings. Additionally, it allows officers to plan capacity more effectively in supporting the provision of timely update information over and above that's already provided in the project updates to the Be the Future board, and which are already circulated to all elected members for awareness and transparency. The remainder of the paper sets out an update on each of the Council's 10 agreed Be the Future priorities. I'm happy to take any questions on the paper.
Okay, thanks. Do you have any questions on the paper? No, Councillor.
Thanks, Convener. Slightly tongue-in-cheek. In 3.12 of page 91, it mentions the Council's community asset transfer policy. Do we actually have that? Is there a policy for community asset transfer?
Yes, we previously agreed it's like a protocol, so effectively yes, which sets out the preconditions that require to be in place. It follows the legislative requirements. But it sets out the conditions that we want a council to be in place before we consider community asset transfer. However, as officers, we recognise that probably needs refreshed because it was done some time ago.
Where might one find this protocol?
It's an operational document, so it sits with officers, but I'm sure we can find a copy if you'd like to see it, Councillor. It's on the website. Oh, apparently it is actually also on the website.
Thanks. Right, same page, family wellbeing partnership, item bullet point 3, collaborative community models. It talks about shifting to early intervention and prevention, moving staffing and resources closer to communities. Is that physical or virtual closeness?
Both. As the models evolve, you would expect to see both. So if you think about all the work that we've been doing, we've done some of the deeper dive updates on the individual initiatives around the Family Wellbeing Partnership. You can see a variety of different approaches that are taken where we're either deploying resources directly into the communities or increasingly we're looking to build capacity with communities to be able to take forward things either in partnership or alone. So it's a blend of different approaches depending on the particular subject matter that's being looked at.
Yeah, sorry, same page again, the last paragraph, which is about transformation funding vehicle. Does that take form, or likely to take form, a sort of super development trust? Is that kind of how you see it sitting?
I'll bring the rein in. If you recall, we did put an update through the council a little while ago, but the work is still developing. But Lorraine will be able to give the most up-to-date detail on that, councillor.
Thank you very much for the question, Councillor Coyne. So it could, again, the simple answer is it could, but we're still working through what that vehicle will actually be. So there are a range of options in terms of what the vehicle could be. Anything from asking a foundation to hold the funding and doing the kind of Foundation Scotland, for example, they do that for funding for communities already. So it could be that type of example, or we could set up something completely new. We haven't got to that stage, we're just working through those options.
do you think that the local development trust would benefit from the existence of a super development trust, and would it attract more growth of development trusts in areas where they're not strong?
Yes, I think they could. I think the main point about this vehicle is it's about working with everybody in the community and with all those different groups to see if we can maximise what is available to Clackmannanshire, and we just gone through an asset mapping exercise at the moment just to look at what assets already exist, where the gaps might be, and to look county-wide as to where we could potentially draw in additional funding.
Okay, any other questions?
Yes, I had one more. I've turned the page, and we're on 92, and the second paragraph, work has commenced to develop scope for the communication engagement. Can you give us a kind of sneak preview of what that might be like?
So the issue with the communication and engagement work is that when we've talked about this historically, everybody tends to think about the more traditional sort of comms model for the council. What we're trying to do is create parallel strands of activity that are about communication, awareness raising, providing opportunity to celebrate successes and to participate. And that last point segues into the parallel stream, which is about how do we design ourselves as an organisation to better facilitate the access to the opportunities for participation, leadership of our communities and so on. So it's a bit of it's a transformation piece, obviously, hence it being in this paper, but it's actually really broadening out our concept of communication and engagement. So funnily enough, we just talked about it in the last few days again, because we could easily just refresh everything we've already got, but it wouldn't get us to the place that we want to get to, that would align with some of the work actually that Lorraine was just talking about, when we actually want to shift the balance of resources, not necessarily from being internally focused and provided within the council, but more outwardly. So it's a bit of a sneak preview. It's the thinking of how we try to develop that so it facilitates the approaches as opposed to just imparts information, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Paulson to the paper.
Thanks, Convener. I'm pleased to propose the latest update on our Be the Future transformation programme. This report outlines the key developments and sets a clear path forward as we continue to reshape the way we serve our community. There are 3 recommendations I'd like to highlight today. The first is that Council is being asked to approve the Be the Future Forward plan. This formalises our approach to reporting, ensuring consistency and transparency as we move forward with our transformation efforts. We are also proposing the adoption of the top 3 priorities, which are the workforce strategy, the asset strategy, and the digital and data transformation. These foundational elements are essential to delivering on our long-term goals and will see heightened focus in the year ahead. Lastly, we are recommending the revised prioritisation of the overall Be the Future themes, which will allow us to better align resources and ensure clarity around key milestones and deliverables. And this is a key requirement of our auditors. These recommendations are vital as we continue to focus on sustainable growth, empowering communities and improving health and well-being, and hope to get support across the chamber today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lindsay, second.
Thank you. Yes, just my support to Councillor's comments in relation to the paper. Fully supportive of the regrouping and refined and approach and regrouping of the priorities, particularly top 3 priorities, which are essential to the sustainability of the council going forward, and the revised prioritisation, if you need to say, of the other key objectives that are outlined in Exhibit 3. So just to reinforce my support.
Okay, thank you. It was open for debate. Any wish to debate the paper further? No? Okay, so the paper is asking us to agree to the Future Forward plan containing Exhibit 1. Again, specific top 3 priorities of workforce strategy, asset strategy, and digital data transformation, and revised prioritisation of the future themes, which is captured in Exhibit 3. We're also asked to note the thematic updates with respect to 24-25. Agreed with the future priorities captured in paragraph 310 to 370. Happy to approve the paper. Thank you. Item 7, the annual review of data 2024. Lindsay, take us from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Council. This report gives an update of income collection and debt outstanding for the financial year 23-24 across the Council's income streams and proposes an amount for write-off. The report provides comparison to previous year's collection and improvement work being progressed within the service. The report also asks Council to approve the proposed write-off amount of 1.509 million, which relates to 4,315 accounts. Over half of this amount relates to the housing debt, with 809,000 proposed for write-off, with the outstanding debt of former tenant arrears as set out in Table 5. The reasons for write-off and related amounts for each income stream are detailed in Appendix B to the report. Once approved for write-off, if at a later date any information is found that would enable the debt to be recovered, then this debt will be written back on and it will be pursued for recovery. In addition to the proposed write-off, Council is also asked to approve the write-off of the balance of school meal income for the 23-24 year, which amounts to £13,550. This is detailed in section 4.6 of the report, and the proposed debt write-off by school is shown on Appendix C. I will take any questions on the report. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lindsay. Do you have any questions, Councillor Dawson?
Yeah, I've got some questions around about the school meal debt, if that's all right. You know, council made the decision to write off school meal debt because it was the right thing to do. On a cost of living crisis, it was placing a burden on families. However, there are a few kind of figures in here that are kind of jumping out at me, and I'm just wondering if we can drill down. There are large amounts, particularly Abercrombie, Alva, Park and Sunnyside, where the number is reaching into the thousands and several thousands. Have we got any information as to what the reasons are for the significant amounts in these schools?
Okay, thanks. Good morning, Council. I hope I can give you some context to this. So last year, looking at the report, we reported on 10 schools who completed their return compared to 17 this year. And that was because when we took the uplift, during the summer holidays and people were in. So when I look to an example of Sunnyside, so there's a significant amount. That is an accumulation of a number of years together that didn't appear last year. So the total was from last year was 13.5. It was 14.5, and this year it's 13.5. So even though we've got far more schools, we have got less debt than last year. I don't want to try to say this is okay, because ultimately we don't have any of that. But where we're seeing that we've had a change in headship or a change in the business support teams, we've got to go back using this information to make sure they upskill the staff to reach out to our families and give that support, and also give the reminders, because many of these are families that could afford it, but the communication never checks up is what we've got to do in these key areas where we've had change. So in particular, these two schools, changes in leadership, changes in approach that we have to go back and address and chase up the debt that we see there. But there has been improvements from last year because we have taken into account far more schools.
Just now, but is it possible to get a bit of a breakdown in the number of children who automatically get free school meals, so primary 1 to 5, and then the breakdown in those who in 6 and 7 who are eligible for free school meals, so that we get an idea on the numbers who aren't eligible for free school meals and therefore equates to this debt?
All I'll do is I'll go away and get a specific briefing out written to members just to give you that sort of clarity of how is there been an increase in free school meals, where has that about, just so you've got that overview. I think that'd be helpful for all of us when we make decisions like this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Quinn, followed by Councillor Harrison.
Thank you. So, got a quick question about the figures. You might not have it now, and if you want, that's perfectly fine. Page 102, housing benefit overpayments. So we know people that receive a housing benefit, people that are on low incomes, and there's any overpayments that can, and you know, the payments reduced going forward, or how they repay that, that can be really stressful for them financially and otherwise. So I'm wondering which portion of the almost £1 million overpayment is a result of our errors.
Sorry, is a result of what, sorry?
Our errors, council errors.
Sorry, we don't have that available right now, but I can get that for you and send that to you.
Perfect, thank you.
Any Councillor Harrison?
That's going to be done. On page 100, table 2, I asked this before in another session, but it's really good to see the numbers of arrears reducing over the years. The only one that's gone up is between 0 and 500, but 499. How do we stop that 0 to 499 becoming 500 to 999 and going up a way? So what are we doing? Because it looks positive everywhere, but what are we doing to prevent that? What is a number that's increased at the bottom, going further up the tree? How are we helping people to get out of that situation?
Thanks for the question, Councillor Harrison. Obviously, just last month we had a performance review with the Scottish Housing Network, so and clearly our current tenant arrears, there's been a lot of effort in relation to the current tenant arrears. Obviously, the figure is 2.27%, the Scottish average just now is 4.5%, give or take. So a lot of work went in terms of the pre-start, in terms of engaging with tenancies when they come through, to make sure they're getting started correctly. Interesting point in terms of those arrears at the particular start. Some of that is related to the legacy in terms of the universal credit, in terms of delays in payments and such like. So despite some of our best efforts and intentions, sometimes those arrears do occur because of the delays in the payment of universal credit. So it's not necessarily something that we can necessarily inform or adjust or change, because it's a policy from the government in terms of sometimes how those payments come forward. But clearly, what we've been discussing the performance meeting is looking to ensure that as much as possible that we've got the support in place to make sure that those arrears don't tumble through those balances through the years.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Quinn?
Yeah, thanks. On the same point then, on page 107, it talks about the provision for each year, last 3 years, for housing arrears. It's pretty much steady, you know, from 3.4 to 3.4 to 3.4. Sorry, that's page 107. Okay, so I mean, although we're looking at progress through one lens, through this lens, it doesn't look like progress at all, because the provision made each year has been consistently flat.
Yeah, so obviously this table in particular is about the provision. So a decision was made during COVID years to look at the debt, and clearly during COVID there was decisions made by council in terms of their recovery activity and in terms of how much we were looking to put provision. It's a question that Lindsay during the accounts comes back and asks me in terms of what our provision is. So for each of the bands in terms of arrears, we've got an allocated amount in terms of what we might assume might come through. So once arrears are over a certain threshold, we are provided within our accounts 100% of that provision, assuming that we won't actually be able to claim it. It will effectively be gone to the organisation. So you're quite correct that actually our provision over the years has remained relatively static. However, of course, that money is, if we, as in relation to Councillor Harrison's point, if we start to get some of these arrears down through some of these boundaries, that's money that can be released back to the provision of the service to actually invest.
Okay, thanks. Right, going to page 99, Lindsay, non-domestic rates collection. 4.7, first of all. Do you have a figure for the net movement in non-domestic rates? out to know the difference between what we pay on the line and what comes back to us.
Sorry, we do, but I don't have that to hand, I'm afraid. So every time we complete non-domestic rates, which we do at least 3 of them through the year, that looks at what we collect and it looks against what we have received from the Scottish Government, so shows the difference. So I don't have that to hand, but I can again pass that out with the other information.
Might you then know what the model is? Do we receive the percentage that the standard one across? There was a cost of percentage of one or is it calculated in another system entirely?
Sorry, I'm going to have to come back to you on that one. That information is escaping me at the moment.
Okay, still on that page 4.8 now, we're talking about legislative changes, etc. Blah, blah. What's the loss of revenue to the council from the discount scheme, the empty properties relief? I'm not, by the way, suggesting to change it, just I'm curious as to what the loss of revenue is.
So some of the reliefs are covered by the Scottish Government in part and in full. So there's a small amount to the council. So at the moment, from the reliefs that we grant, it's around 40 to 44,000. That is the cost to the council of those reliefs. That's discretionary.
Okay, yeah, last one is on page 108, the last table, council tax and water charges. It seems to be untraceable. It seems to be a big jump there. What happened? Did you discover more that you weren't discovering in the past, or have people been running away faster than normal?
Apologies, I will send that information out as well. I don't.
Okay, thanks for that. That's my lot.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any other questions?
Oh, sorry, I missed one. Yes, on page 109, very last point, 1.8. The majority of the cases now the debts of write-off are due to being unable to trace ratepayers, kind of echoes of my last point. But these are businesses, and surely there are better tracing methods for businesses that are untraceable. I mean, this is they're not just going bust. They've moved premises, I guess, but surely there's a register of businesses as Companies House, though, can we? Okay,
I mean, we do use every avenue we can, so you're right, if a company is registered, we have an address for them, but that doesn't mean they're there. We use the sheriff officers for our non-domestic rates as well, so we try and employ every avenue that we can, so if they can't trace them either, then there is some way of them being able to evade them. And it's harder when people have debated or see straight into track them down.
Yeah, fine, thanks.
Okay, thank you. There's no other questions? Councillor Parsons with the paper.
Thanks, Convener. Today I'm proposing the annual review of debtors for 23-24. The paper outlines the Council's efforts in income collection and proposes a write-off of debts deemed irrecoverable, amounting to just over £1.5 million. Regrettably, this includes significant sums such as £805,238 in former tenant arrears and £13,550 in unpaid school meal debt. These figures no doubt reflect the ongoing financial challenges faced by many in our community, exacerbated by the cost of living crisis and operational challenges within our own processes. Considering the exceptionally challenging financial context in which we operate, it's with a heavy heart that we propose these write-offs, but it is essential that we acknowledge the reality of the situation. Despite the best efforts and the diligent work of our teams, these debts have proven irrecoverable for reasons such as sequestration, untraceability, and the death of debtors. As a council, we remain committed to improving our collection processes and continuing to support those who need it most, and I hope that everyone can support this today.
Thank you. Councillor Lindsay to second.
That's good. Yeah, we usually start proposing second papers with the word happy, but this is obviously not one where you're particularly happy to propose the write-off of such an amount, but we recognise the process and the procedures that have been gone through, the efforts of officers to recover this money, including some of the significant sums that have already been outlined and discussed. But we do recognise, as I say, that this is the position of the council at the moment in terms of what has been recovered and what cannot be recovered at this stage, and we need to go through this process annually on writing off this particular debt. We've discussed a little bit and asked some questions in a little bit of detail there around the school write-off. I know it's at the lower end of what we're writing off today, but I'm keen to work with colleagues just to look at that in a little bit more detail. We have discussed it. It's not anything new in terms of questions that have been asked or discussions that have been happening, but certainly to work with Colin and the team just to look at whether our families are accessing the particular funds out there that we can around this, but certainly just to understand why we're reaching some of these figures within some of the schools, and if there's anything that we can do to improve those figures as well. So, yeah, this is the position we're currently at. It's not a pleasurable experience, but we are where we are, and we're comfortable now that this is the position that we have in terms of what we need to write off. So, second review.
Okay, thank you. Any wish to debate, people, brother? Councillor Taggart.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Convener. With the exception for tenant arrears, we see that all other arrears have reduced, and I think the housing team have to be commended in the work that they've done around that. Officers in their patches have made concerted efforts to engage with people whose rent accounts are reaching a limit where it could result in more serious action, to prevent that serious action being taken and to prevent the arrears from rising even further. Again, the UC claimants, they have a big impact on the rent arrears because of the fact that UC is paid in arrears and the debt is accruing during that time, as was mentioned by Murray in response to Councillor Harrison. So, although we never ever want to write off debt, sometimes it's impossible not to, as Councillor Forson has mentioned. People's financial circumstances are dire. So I just wanted to respond and thanks, Convener.
Okay, thank you. Any other contributions to the debate? Councillor Forson, do you want to say something at all? Well, on that basis, do we approve the paper? Thank you. Item 8 is the Wellbeing Economy Local Outcomes Improvement Plan 2034.
Thank you and good morning, councillors. So this report presents the draft Wellbeing Economy Local Outcomes Improvement Plan, or LOIP, for 2024 to 34, following a refresh of the current plan. The plan has been developed with our community planning partners following a significant period of development and engagement, and it presents a shared commitment on the outcomes that partners and communities wish to see, with a focus on reducing inequalities across the county. The LOIP is an important plan for Clackmannanshire and set the direction of our work with partners through the Clackmannanshire Alliance and wider community planning partnership. The plan has been developed in line with statutory guidance set out under the Community Empowerment Scotland Act 2016 and is therefore focused on improving outcomes for those facing the greatest inequality and disadvantage in Clackmannanshire, as well as reflecting the local needs and aspirations of our communities. Under a broad commitment to delivering a wellbeing economy, the plan sets out priorities under 3 strategic outcomes: under wellbeing, economy, skills and place,
recognising that no one partner can address or deliver these singularly. The plan has been developed following a robust process of evidence and data collation and analysis, verified by external partners and tested through comprehensive collaboration and engagement with a wide range of community planning partners, communities and local groups over an extended period of time. These consultation materials have been provided to elected members and partners, and a members' briefing was held in early September. An Equality and Fairer Scotland impact assessment has also been completed as part of the process, and this, along with the consultation pack, are available as background papers. Council has asked to agree the local outcomes improvement plan today. I would also bring to your attention that other key community planning partner organisations are also seeking approval of this plan through their own organisational governance channels, and that a communication plan will be implemented to publish and raise awareness of the plan across the community planning partnership and communities. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Do you have any questions? Councillor Coyne?
Thanks, Peter. In principle, you're talking about well-being, economy and skills and places as being three sort of areas. Do you agree that the first and the third tend to be things that consume resources, whereas in the long run, especially in the long run, the middle one, economy and skills, actually provide resource rather than consume it? And that, in a sense, ought to be part of the arrowhead of the whole thing, is to make sure that people are working, earning money, enjoying life, feeling self-respect, etc., etc. So that really got to be where we're pointing this, that the shaggy bit of the economy and skills. Do you agree with that?
In a sense, yes. I think there is a significant overlap between those three strategic outcomes, and we've attempted to make that overlap clear in the plan. I think jobs, pay, secure pay, fair work is very important. However, for people to be able to access those, we need to address health, poverty and other social determinants of health and ability to be able to access it.
Thanks, yes, and then that's why they say in the long run, from it, and I'm not denying that there are current needs. Thinking of education and skills, business survival rates are particularly a worry for me. Do you do any analysis of why businesses fail? And is it something that's a feature of the individual who's failing or the environment in which they are failing?
So I'm aware of quite a bit of previous research that's been done on that. I have not been directly involved in some of that work that would be taken forward by economic development colleagues, but I know as part of the very early stages of developing and consulting around the inclusive growth diagnostic as part of the wellbeing toolkit and pilot, that survey with local businesses was undertaken. So there is evidence and research there, but I think that would sit in some of the plans that underpin the local outcome improvement plan, and I know work on the economic strategy has been taken forward at the moment with economic development colleagues in place.
And are those data visible to someone like yourself?
Yeah, a lot of that is publicly available data, but certainly research from the business survey that's been completed can be shared.
Youth training. We have a college here in Alma. Is its curriculum examined to see if it's offering the right kind of stuff for local youth, what industry requires? Is it fit for purpose in the sense? Is its offering appropriate to the modern world?
I mean, we've got very strong connections in terms of between the college and education colleagues, but I wanted to particularly comment on the aspirations of the City Region deal, which is right in the heart of the economic development ambitions that we've got. So there's a work stream that runs through the whole City Region deal, which is about skills development, and that supports every project. That work is only really starting to get going. There's been a number of one-off grants so far, but one of the things that we particularly asked for is to make sure that the developments that are coming as a result of the investment of the City Deal money is being used to both identify and then develop the programmes that will support the development of those sorts of training routes, pathways, career pathways for the future. It's a funded programme within the deal, but at the moment, one of the particular bits of feedback I've been given on a regular basis, as has the leader actually, is that we've not got that kind of analysis of the skills of the future piece sort of nailed down across all the projects. It's been done on a project by project basis, but we're encouraging the team working on that to move us into that place. So that would include the college and other pathways as well, working with other partners.
So the answer is yes, you do your work on that change exercise of being the need and supply. That's good. Another question if I can. It talks about a Clack's employability plan and a local employability plan in the papers. I think some people on board or something like that. What's the difference? Yeah, page 140, pretty sure it is. So it would be attention to Clack's employability plan and the local employability plan. What is the difference? I'll be asking the same question I might as well about the regional economic strategy and the Clack's economic strategy. What's the difference?
My sense on the first one is that they're very possibly the same thing, but I can't be definitive on that. But certainly on the second one, the regional economic strategy is a piece of work that we're looking at across Forth Valley. So the council leaders and chief executives of each of the three authorities have been working together, and I'm reaching out to other partners to look at the development of that. It's had a bit of a protracted history, to be fair, on that one, but we're kind of getting closer now. We're anticipating that we'll get a draft of that, and the idea would be that it would come through council for approval, alongside work that was done, if you recall, on the Connectivity Commission piece, which is a contributory factor. So the Clack strategy would be the level down from that. So that is also being worked on, because I've been speaking to Paul about it. So we've been refreshing a lot of the interested in some of the data sets that you asked about earlier. Paul's been working through those, looking what does it tell us about Clacks in particular, not only in the context of the Forth Valley region, but also nationally, etc. So you've got the hierarchy of the plans.
I think, not wrong, they're coming up in December, I think the next paper. The deadline for them on scheduled delivery is December for the regional and the Clack's economic strategy. Does that strike a bell? You need to read the paper.
I'm being cautious because we've seen several drafts previously and we keep sending it back. So it will be the working assumption at this point in time, but we want to get it right, to be quite honest. And I think it's really important that if we're having a regional economic strategy, we're very clear about what the shared ambitions are and what the shared priorities are. And that is the bit that we need to absolutely get written down.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Quinn.
Thank you. I've got a question, because in the page 126, in the women and girls section, it talks about gender pay gap. I was just wondering, because last bit as I see from the council, we still has a bit of a gender pay gap there. So what is our situation? Do we know what the situation is with that in the council currently? Are we kind of doing things to address that? Because we can't be saying we want to improve this if we're not doing it ourselves.
Yes, so we have reported recently to Audit and Scrutiny Committee on our gender pay gap. It's very low as a council, so we are doing some good work and have been doing some good work to get to that position. It's under 0.5% of a pay gap, so, and that's presented to the audit.
Excellent, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Councillor Watson.
Thanks, Convener. Today I'm pleased to introduce the revised local outcome improvement plan for Clackmannanshire, which has been developed by the Clackmannanshire Alliance. I'd like to first of all thank Sinead and her team for pulling this work together because whilst it's a partnership plan, it seems to see that the burden of developing it has fallen squarely on the shoulders of the council and been led by Sinead. So the plan outlines a shared vision for the next 10 years and the priorities that will guide our collective efforts until 2034. It's built on the commitment of our partners to work together, focusing on a few key areas that will make the most significant impact in improving the lives of the people in our community. At the core of this plan is a dedication to tackling inequality and building a well-being economy for Clackmannanshire. We have listened to our communities, identified where we can make the biggest difference and ensure that our actions align with the long-term sustainable improvement we seek for future generations. These strategic outcomes form the foundation of this plan: people, place and economy and skills. And under these themes we aim to reduce inequality, promote fair work and learning and create thriving, sustainable places. We believe that by working together on these priorities we can help shape a more equal and prosperous future for everyone in Clackmannanshire. We've also developed a performance dashboard in collaboration with the Scottish Government to track our progress using reliable data. This will help us to ensure that we are moving in the right direction and that improvements we seek are felt by all in Clackmannanshire. And crucially, it will also allow us to see where we're not making improvements and to adapt accordingly. In seeking approval of this revised plan, I'm asking for Council's continued support in creating a stronger, healthier and more equitable Clackmannanshire. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lindsay to second.
No surprise that I read all of these comments, but just to add a few areas of all in terms of focus. It's always certainly been my belief that improving the well-being of people, local people, but all people, is critical to the outcomes that they want to achieve. So it's no surprise therefore that I'm hugely supportive of not only a local outcome improvement plan, but the focus of this particular local outcome improvement plan of well-being front and centre of the plan. Again, what I would echo is the work and focus and leadership that's been applied by the council, particularly Sinead. As Ellen's highlighted again, and probably refer back to the previous paper on anti-social behaviour, collaboration and collective responsibility again are two critical words when it comes to this particular document. And again, it will fail should we not get a collective, collaborative approach and equality also partners' contributions. So tackling inequality, building a well-being economy is absolutely critical for us, particularly in Clackmannanshire. We know the demographics, we touched on that already this morning, we know that well, but this is about how we tackle that collaboratively and put our people's well-being front and centre to deliver the outcomes that we know they can achieve and deserve. The plan, as you highlighted, highlights the three key areas. They are deliberate in terms of the overlap, the well-being economy, skills and places being key focus. And the plan acknowledges the breadth of work. And we do acknowledge that this is not an easy task to pull together all of the plans of statutory partners. They do have to focus on those individual plans, but it is about how we pull out those collective actions that we all have a responsibility for that is critical. And it's not easy. And it is a very difficult process, and I'm aware of other community planning partnerships that find it very, very difficult as well. But I think we're always talking about precisely Clackmannanshire. I think the opportunity for us is that being a small local authority does present opportunities in terms of getting this type of piece of work right, because we all really understand, we're all ingrained and we all are invested in doing what we can and do the best for Clackmannanshire. So fully supportive of the document, fully supportive of the consultation, leadership from Clackmannanshire Council on this, but really we push partners to make sure that there is a collective responsibility to try and positive outcomes for people with Clackmannanshire Council.
Okay, thank you. The paper's open for debate. Any wish to debate, members? No. Okay. Council has been asked to approve the relevant local outcomes improvement plan for 2024 to 2034. We have to approve. Thank you. Item 9 is the base business plan 24-25. Kevin, take a share, thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Convener, and thank you, Council. The paper in front of you today is the Place Business Plan for your consideration and approval. The Directorate's plan has been developed in line with previously agreed business plan and guidance. I think it's important to highlight that in terms of the services delivered by the Police Directorate are a number of critical services for our local communities, and also provide support across the Council's service functions. The plan in front of you looks to work alongside our Be the Future priorities and support some of those priorities, particularly around the redesign of the Police Directorate and approaches to service improvements. We will also bring forward developments in the Council's asset management structure, which was highlighted earlier in terms of the Be the Future update, which will encompass a wider learning state strategy and maintaining a strong eye towards our climate change commitments. The Department is fully aware of the financial challenges to local government and is certainly seeking to play its part in supporting a balanced budget and delivery of our services and that best value principles, and also improve our governance performance across a range of service areas as outlined within the Appendix 1. Members, if I can maybe highlight to you in terms of within the actual business plan, the suite of strategic policy development areas that are in section 1.3 of the plan. On page 152, you'll see the number of areas that we are developing at present, and we have a list of those that we would be pursuing over this year and the coming years. Also highlight in terms of section 3 on page 159, the workforce planning, information in relation to the Police Directorate, which I think you will find quite interesting in terms of the makeup of our Police Directorate and where our officers and workforce sit within that Police Directorate. And also in terms of the delivery plan in section 4, page 161 of the report, where we seek to develop that performance agenda around our performance indicators. A number of these have been built on in terms of previous years, and my predecessor developing some of this work alongside the actions in section 2.4 of the document as well. A couple of new things that we have introduced as well within this arrangement is that desire to build upon the work that's been commenced within the People Directorate around about that one plan, one report approach, recognising the very many strategic documents that we work towards, report against and action plan against as well, from the work on the treatment with Lorraine in terms of that one plan approach. We seek to do similar to streamline that process and try and reduce the burden of bureaucracy and reporting through that mechanism. Members, I'm happy to take any questions. I've also got some of the colleagues on the screen and in the room as well.
Thanks, Kevin. Do you have any questions, Councillor Quinn?
Yeah, Kevin, before Councillor Quinn, there's a bit of spot this as well. Page 152, it says key issues for service priorities for 23-24. Has that just not been updated? Because it's talking like it's in the future, not like it's talking about the previous year. Should that be 24-25 at the bottom, key issues? Sorry.
It is, yes. So I've also looked at a further type further back in the document in relation to that one plan, one report as well. We will lie it on the out so that the deliberate and extended one strategy. So.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Page 157, meeting of the August, climate change for it, etc. I was wondering, net zero strategy in action, is this a net cost or a net saving to the council as it rolls out?
I can't give you specifics in terms of as it's rolled out. I think it's a commitment we're giving to in terms of that climate challenge that we face, and it's one of these things that do we know that some of the preparation work to get to a net zero ambition will cost us money, and we are looking to make that as efficient as we can, and I think it's part of that broader priority that this council has agreed and we would work towards. I don't know if that answers your question.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you, Councillor. I was just going to make the point, actually, it's a subject of much discussion at national level as well as that dynamic, because against the backdrop of the targets and so on, that obviously they've got a reducing resource base in terms of the fiscal position. So that it's been subject to much debate about what the investment level is that's actually needed to meet the targets. So I think that's exactly what your question is trying to get at. I don't think we've done the calculation, to that precise level locally, but certainly there's some aggregate figures that are there at the national level in terms of the cost of implementing the policy ambition versus the resources in the sector.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I should have said there's not a question. No, I want to say that.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, thank you. Councillor Ward, on the paper.
Trying to use the microphones up and speak into it, but we're trying to do what it's not. Hopefully you can hear me. Thank you, Kevin, for presenting the plan. It was quite seeing the police directorate, like the rest of the council, is operating under a pretty harsh financial situation. Changes are required to operate within this tight budget, and we are feeling like entire. This means that we need to be even more focused on our priorities as a council and what we need to achieve and we need to achieve them. There's a huge array of strategies and policies within the plan, from the housing needs and demand assessment to the climate change strategy. Now, I, for one, can't stand writing or reading words for the sake of it. And I know what a lot of people think, oh no, not another strategy. But we all know in this chamber that these strategies and plans are required to ensure that we are driving Clackmannanshire forward in a focused way, and it also ensures that the funding is focused. It should be noted, as Kevin said earlier, that they are looking to combine a lot of these plans, just like Lorraine had presented in August with the People and Community Wellbeing Plan. The Police Directorate has continued to operate in a climate that is making recruitment difficult. There has been several positions that have been advertised on multiple occasions but remain unfilled. This does have an impact on services. However, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone in place for their work and dedication this year and going forward. I'd also just like to highlight some of the positive things that have happened with the Police Directorate. So recently the official opening of the active travel route between Alba and Main Street. That was a lot of work for officers to plan. The land services team were also involved in planting over 5,000 trees, while falling in mud and getting stuck in mud. I'd also like to highlight the sustainability team. Have had more success this year in bringing in funds to help support residents within Clackmannanshire to retrofit their properties to help with energy savings. There's also been lots of changes within the Clackmann Recycling Centre. So there's been a lot of changes in the way that we dispose of waste. So I don't know if anybody's been there recently. We've now got bays for like hard plastics. There's also bays for upholstery, and that's because of changes to the way that we dispose of pops. So I'd like to thank all the teams involved in that, and because that has been a major changes, and also helping residents who come to the recycling centre to know how to actually dispose of their waste. We've also made moves on getting our tenant participation officer and a policy officer in housing. So again, I'd just like to finish with just thanking everybody within the Police Directorate for their work and dedication.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Tyler, second.
Thanks, convener. I'd just like to echo Councillor Law's sentiments with thanking the Police Directorate for their work in producing this plan, and I'm happy to see this plan coming to Council today to outline the Police Directorate plans which align closely with the Council's Be the Future vision and aspirations, with a clear focus and approach around the wellbeing economy. The plan demonstrates a need to focus our resources to best effect to achieve our aspirations for this county, while delivering a business as usual approach to ensure services continue to reach those who need them. The budget's under pressure and demand for services growing. There may be a need to rely on external support, either formally or informally, to meet our aims and commitments, and to work strategically with our partners to enhance our business model. Current and future pressures are and will remain challenging, but I support the essence of this plan and I'm happy to second. Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you. Papers now open for debate. Is there any debate? Council happy to approve the plan as attached to Appendix 1. Thank you. We'll take a short adjournment until 12:15. Thank you.